I will be.
You're dying.
Oh.
She doesn't look good. She was. Thank you.
That's good.
Good evening, everybody. It is now 6 o'clock, so I will call the first meeting of the Community Development Commission of 2026 to order. And I will quickly introduce, we have a couple of new faces here. Down at the end between Al and Taylor is Doug Roth, who has replaced Bill Champion as the Advisory Commission on Industrial Development's president and CDC representative. And to Al's other side is Diana Day, who has replaced Dave Scott as the Tourism Advisory Council's president and CDC member. Welcome, and I'm glad to see you here. Glad that all 7 members here tonight. That's pretty exceptional. First thing on the agenda is the consent agenda. As I told you via email, the memo from the November exec session is included in here, but we did not get the regular meeting minutes finished, so those will be out for approval at our May meeting. You saw part of the reports that I sent out and included in there, but not all of them. So at this moment, we can pause and you guys can take a look if there's anything you want to extract for discussion on the table, or we can get an approval to, we can get a motion to approve the consent agenda and move along. Anything that anybody would like to discuss or before discussion?
Is there anything added from what you had said?
Well, there's a couple of pages that went in there, and it's really, all it is this is all the stuff that we've done in the last 3 months, this is all the stuff on the next 3 months.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
A motion and a second, do we have any further discussion on the matter? Hearing none, I will call for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Consent agenda is approved. Next up, we have the election of officers, president, vice president, and the secretary. She was served as president last year. The president really just runs meetings, and to be fair, most of the time I take the reins unless the president feels it is necessary to do so. Maybe signs a few documents through the course of the year. Vice President runs meetings in the president's absence. Last year, that was Bill Champion, who is no longer with us. And Mr. Lovely was the secretary last year. Taylor or I will prepare the minutes, and we just send it out to the secretary to review, okay, request any additions, corrections, deletions before we send it out to the full commission for dissemination and eventual approval. Do I have any volunteers or nominations for the office of president?
So I guess I would make a suggestion that, again, we've got a couple new people on the board. I'm happy to serve as secretary again, but I don't know if we just want to keep saying slate of officers. I know Bill's not here anymore, so that position would need to be filled, but I'm putting out there that I'm happy to be secretary again. And again, Sheila probably be welcome. President, I guess I would.
Yeah, I'm fine with that as well.
Sort of make the motion to keep the same slate of officers minus that we would need to fill VP spot.
Do we have any other nominations or volunteers for president or secretary before we move along? Do we have any volunteers or nominations for the office of vice president to replace Mr. Champion?
I think Al likes to do stuff.
Is that how I'm known?
Is that a nomination?
I like to do
I'll
stuff.
nominate Al as vice president, Sheila's president.
I'll second.
All right. If there are no other volunteers or nominations for any of the offices, I will call for a motion to close nominations and to approve the slate as presented.
I'll move.
We have a motion. Second.
I second.
Second, do you have any further discussion on the matter? Hearing none, I will call for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries, officers are elected. Thank you, Sheila, you're in charge.
That's yours.
There's yours, lucky guy.
For the record now, that's how I got president last year.
Last time I run
Somebody was like, yeah, I think
right?
Raj did, so that's what happened.
That's often what happens. All right. Sheila, you're in
Do you
charge.
want to go ahead? Okay, next thing on the agenda would be the strategic plan highlight report.
So pages 7 through 12 of your packet, as you remember, last year, I think that's 2025 for last, 2024 for last year, and then end of last year for this year. In our November meeting, we established a list of goals and objectives, kind of aligned with how our strategic plan and the performance evaluation form you guys used for me is set up. And then over the course of the year, I will add notes following each one of those, addressing what has been accomplished, what hasn't yet been accomplished. Unless there is something I don't go over that one of you wants to revisit, I am not going to go through every single item out of these 5 pages. I'm just going to go over some highlights, and then, like I said, if there's anything else, let me know. 2 of our 3 revolving loan fund borrowers are in good standing. They all finished 2025 in good standing, and I spoke with the third today, and she'll be getting caught up on her January and February payments next week. Baki, Tony Holliday's clear decision filtration in Francisville, his loan will be paid off in April. So that's news on the revolving loan fund. Commissioners are having our annexes assessed for next steps in dealing with county facilities and improving the ones we want to keep, reducing their footprint. I voiced my opinions about the process and will leave it be unless and until I am asked to play any kind of role in any of that work. Our broadband plan is nearly complete. Oprah handed back some comments and requests to our consultant, and those are in the process of being addressed, and then they'll send it back to Oprah for a final review and approval, and then at some point, we will have to have a conversation as to what roles may be required in implementation of the plan, active versus passive. In some parts, it may just be working with county highway if a provider wants to get permitted, get road right-of-way access to build, but if there's work to be done in trying to solicit funding to support this in advance and get it done faster, that may arise. That's a conversation we're eventually going to have CDC, Commissioners Council, probably Kurt Dickey in our community, and Ian Wright, since they're the 2 who have been most involved in this process with me. We're really the only 3 stragglers left who are still on this day-to-day from the broadband committee we put together. Tourism Advisory Council plans on hosting a networking, education, and information collecting event for our tourism and adjacent businesses. So, hoping to make some connections that maybe don't exist right now, or strengthen them. Talked about education components specifically focusing on business marketing for some of the smaller tourism attractions that maybe aren't doing any marketing or could be doing more to draw more visitors to their amenities and thus to the county, and also using it so that we can have as many of them in the room at the same time and collect information about events they might be hosting so that we can collate all that information, do a better job of promoting it, putting it on the calendar, so that it's not just Taylor and I and the TAC doing all the legwork without getting some buy-in from businesses in the community and making sure that the things we're highlighting are the things that they want to have highlighted. So anything on goals and objectives before we move on to the rest of the strategic plan highlights report?
From the broadband provider, is it just Lightstream and who's on the east? Is it Ramsey?
So the only true fiber providers I think right now are Lightstream, and I think it's a partnership between Marshall County, RMC, and Rochester.
Okay.
And between the 2 of those, a lot of the east, southeast, and south central part of the county. In Francisville, I'm not sure, Don, Mike Simpson, does he have fiber
I believe so.
in town? I don't know that he has it beyond town, but I think he does have it in town. And
Yes,
then
he does,
out in the rural areas, I think he does offer some satellite.
but not in satellite. Jasper County REMC,
That's right. They've got a few far western in their service areas. So there are four, but the two biggest ones are, yes, Lightstream and Rochester.
Does that not count? Is Brightspeed? I know I can add to it.
I think that, I'm not actually sure if they're doing that.
They always tell me they're doing fiber, but then.
I think they do in town.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think they cover much ground where they're not competing. There's a pretty big chunk of the county, generally speaking, north of 14, west of 35, that is seriously underserved. And then some parts in like the southwestern, south central, that are outside of Francisville, outside of Mike Stimson's service area, and beyond Lightstream. But the worst is probably your Western Franklin, Rich Grove, Cass Townships, Jefferson. It gets rough out there.
it's a desert.
That's where I live.
Any questions also on what I've gone through, or anything in the several pages of it that I didn't address at all?
Any new applicants or interest in the revolving loan?
I'll get to that in just a moment.
Oh, you will? Okay.
I will get to that in just a moment. Redevelopment Commission, we are going to be going to a monthly meeting schedule for a while to dive into project and program planning and design. We're still kicking around some of the ideas and how we prioritize them. But and obviously finding funding where funding is going to be an issue, but some of the things we've got adopted in our conversations are facade program, housing, and that's a very big word. We cover a lot of things, and we don't know what that will look like yet. Small business and farmers market support and other ideas we're exploring include potential school partnerships, and suspect that will involve some conversations with school leadership to see like what it is, where the opportunity is. You know, through our industrial forum, we've got some of the relationships with local corporations in the county. Usually they both have somebody at those meetings when they hold them, but that's typically focused obviously on like the CTE side. But as far as what the redevelopment commission can do, remains to be seen a little bit, but we're going to explore those options with our schools. I served on the interview committee for the Uptown project and the Town of Francisville's downtown planning grant application process. That grant was awarded, as well as the planning grant for the McGarry Gym project. I've been involved in a few conversations exploring value-added agricultural opportunities involving Doral solar projects. Comprehensive plan, and I will get to that in greater detail in a few minutes, includes a request for recommendations regarding appropriate community development and building planning and zoning staffing and implementation, and continue to partner and to check in with Community Foundation as needed. Any questions on strategic plan and stuff? All right, then the last two pages of the packet are our end of 2025 and mid-February financial reports. The Fund 1112 that funds this office, the local income tax economic development fund, ended the year with a cash balance of $2.61 million, which is an increase of about $683,000 from the end of 2024. And that is reflected in part of just an increase in the annual revenue from 24 to 25, and the fact that we left about 37% of our budget unexpended, and 76,000 of what we did spend was reimbursed by Doral to cover the cost of various studies that this office paid for relating to their tax abatement requests. And then 9.7% of the non-community development component of the 1112 budget was left unspent. We also ended with $580,000 in a CD that has been in a CD for as long as I've been with the county, I think, and we've only taken the interest and put back into cash. Donation fund ended the year healthy. Revolving Loan Fund ended the year with $370,000 in change, and our two industrial park funds combined ended the year with about $111,000. Any questions on the year-end report before I go into this month's update? Okay. And on the last page is that month-end update. The total budget this year is $1,307,000, which is up from $1,187,000 and change last year. Our budget is $459,891, which reflects a decrease of about 10% from last year's budget. As some of you may recall, I chiseled away substantially at the budget in hopes of adding a third staff position without any net increase on the budget, and that didn't fly, so we just cut 10% of our budget. That said, other than potentially the professional services line item, I don't think we're going to experience any pain with that cut. The professional services, depending on how a few things go this year, may require me to go back to the county council for an additional appropriation request. I've already started that conversation with them, giving them the heads up that it's a possibility. I apologize. 1307 is just the non-CDC component of that, up from 1187. So that's about 10% increase on that side, a 10% decrease on ours. You can see at the bottom, the bulk of the money allocated for non-CDC purposes in the appropriation for IT costs and liability insurance. The total budget is 1.766 and change, up from 1.697. My first stab estimate of the year-end fund balance is 2.591 in cash, and that's reflecting an assumption that every single penny that is budgeted is spent, which never happens, and it doesn't account for any interest that's accrued, so it probably will be higher than that. But when I'm looking at those numbers, I try to keep those pretty conservative. So far, we have spent very little out of the budget. Not even $9,000 in our operational funds thus far. From year end to now, minimal change to the revolving loan fund balance, no change to the industrial park funds, no change to our donation fund. We have $10,643.12 in there. Just under 900 is totally discretionary use. 1,000 of it is set aside for leadership Pulaski County, if that ever reboots, otherwise for some sort of similar youth development and leadership development programming. 3,500 is for entrepreneurial support, whether it's programming or a consultant for an entrepreneurship plan or a little of both. 2,500 on 3,500, I wrote in the report, is for the comprehensive plan, and 2,500 is for programming generally. Any questions on the financial report?
I just want to make sure I'm looking at these numbers right.
Okay.
Under operational cost budget, the 204,250.
Yep.
And 2025 compares just over $1 million. Are those the same numbers?
I'm sorry, that one is not correct. That's 2024, and I did not change that when I updated the document.
Okay.
No, it was, let's see. It was about 260.
Okay.
Sorry about that, I didn't even catch that, I missed that one. Our budget last year was 510, so that 1.2461, that's also 2024. I forgot to edit copy when I renamed the file from when we had all the money for the courthouse budget. So last year's budget was 510,055 with 236 and change in personnel and 265-ish, 270 in operations. Any other questions? All right, can I get a motion to approve these, strategic plan, executive director report, and the financial report?
Make a motion to approve reports.
With the update from Brian.
With corrections from Brian. I can send a copy with corrections, actually, guys.
A second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries, report approved. Thank you very much. Old business. Revolving Loan Fund program review. Maurice, I am pleased to inform you that we have finally reopened the program.
Okay.
It is finally open with all of the changes that Sheila, Blake, Cass, and I had worked on approved.
Excellent.
I have provided information to one potential new borrower and spoken to another. I'm waiting for the second one to check in with her supplier about some cost estimates before she knows it. This is the avenue she wants to proceed. One of these is a entrepreneur thinking about starting one is an existing business. Definitely should make her anticipate working with us sort of to refi their loan with us and another loan they have by way of transferring the debt from the existing property to this one. They'll repay, I mean, they're gonna repay part of it and then basically reapply to transfer, they're gonna transfer their obligation. And so we'll release the mortgage on the Pearl Street building and take a mortgage on the Logan Street building.
I thought we weren't going to finance buildings.
Oh, that's still okay.
I thought we were going to finance buildings so people, yeah, I thought we had a conversation about not financing buildings. Did we not?
No, we have a little bit of leeway, but in general, we don't finance buildings where it is a passive income. So we're
Correct.
actually going to transfer, we're no longer going to have a mortgage on a property that is passive income for them. And we're going to have it in the building where they're operating. So this will actually get them more in line with the program rules. Because when we first made that loan, they were operating in that, and in the interim, while the program was frozen, they moved and started generating passive. So the rule is no passive income.
That was it. You're right.
So EDC will have at least one application coming fairly soon, if not more. Working on promoting the program a little more aggressively than the word of mouth that was going through what we did in the past, since it's been so long since it's been open. I'm doing a quarterly ad in the journal about it, plus occasional posting reminders on Facebook. In March, I am presenting, I am the main attraction, so to speak, at the Uptown Project's quarterly small business breakfast. And I might try to do something similar with Main Street Winnemac and see if there are any other places elsewhere we can do that. I am open to other suggestions for how we get the word out about the program as well. As I mentioned, we've got like $370,000 in there. It's the most we've had in quite a while when the program's been open. So the more we can find good projects to support, the better.
Well, the chamber, they have their women in business lunches. Sometimes I think they'd probably let you in to give your pitch.
I'm assuming you have a strong enough relationship with the local banks, so when they can't lend to a potential borrower, can you ask them to direct you to you instead of?
Yes. I mean, we've got one of our local commercial lenders on the EDC, so he is
Right.
been very vocal in championing getting this program back.
What are the general terms, or is it really just case by case?
I can't rattle it off the top of my head, but I can send it to you. But basically, so we have like a couple of tiers of loans. Anything under 20,000, we do pretty much exclusively in-house, with the only outside help being the county's attorney reviewing it, collateral, that sort of thing.
As opposed to underwriting.
Anything above 20, we send out to the regional development company, and they do a complete review and underwriting, credit check. They provide us with a credit memo, risk rating worksheet, interest rates they're kind of staggered based on the tier of loan, but they're all based on a percentage of the Wall Street prime rate caps. So it's like something like, I don't know, like 77.5% of prime, 75, 72.5, 70. We used to do it like,
Plus one of whatever the prime was.
yeah, but when, interest rates like quintuple, it didn't make the program especially right. And so we restructured it to do it percentage-wise. And then there are different levels of security and requirements, whether you just need an appraisal or for real property, a full appraisal or sort of a market valuation from a realtor based on the amount of security, the amount of the loan, all of that. But we've got it all on the website with all the details and the guidelines.
And I think we can do a better job as we're out in the community talking to people.
Sure, absolutely.
And I think from a marketing standpoint, that's something we should do.
Anything else? Questions on the revolving loan fund? I will defer to you all, but I think now that the program is actually live again and it is in the hands of the EDC, I don't think we need to keep talking about it anymore unless something comes up that requires a return to it. And we'll let Al come and beg and plead for help or something if the need arises. But I don't think we need to keep talking about it now that we finally have it active again. I might maybe if we've got a whole bunch of applicants that's getting crazy, I'll just let you know that we're having a lot of success. We're seeing a lot of interest, but there's not a lot to update on once it's up and running.
I would agree that if everything's running smoothly, we don't necessarily need to hear about it, but I guess do we need to set some threshold of delinquency where we would want to hear about it?
2 months.
2 months?
We need a motion for that.
If you wanted to be
Right,
codified,
2 months.
the program, because the program rules do have like a process for dealing with delinquency. I don't know if we need a motion just for me to tell you that there is an issue.
Well, I think too, if you're doing this chart that you did in the packet, where it says what.
So it'll come up, it's always going to come up. I'm still going to have that before, I'm not just going to update you on the program itself because I don't have to tell you, I'm still working to get the attorney on board. That'll still be in mind.
But we'll still get like a breakdown of the spreadsheet of, okay.
Cool. Like you can see, I had like 2 months, the last time isn't, and she's gonna get that caught up next week, so. I can certainly put that, and it'll always be in that table. Any other revolving loan fund? All right, just very quickly on solar energy projects. Doral is getting closer to completion of the first Mammoth solar construction. They have received their abatement and entered into an EDA for their second project, the Mammoth Grazing Lands Mammoth Pastures project, and working towards the building permit with all of those requirements, the various other agreements that have to be executed. Other projects are working toward construction, but not quite ready yet. Don, Sheila, I don't know if either of you want to add anything regarding any of the other projects that you know of. I know VS is kept the commissioners.
VS reported our last commissioner meeting. Appears to be a little while, but VS has had constant communication and they've reported at our commissioner meetings.
Okay, and then lastly, under old business, Pulaski County comprehensive plan. We had this conversation a year ago tomorrow, I believe, at our February 2025 meeting. The industrial park board had started talking about a comprehensive plan after Chelsea Smith had said something. And then parallel to that, with having received the report from Ball State, the Community Foundation came to the same commissioners meeting when I was going to bring it up and urged the commissioners to move forward with a new comprehensive plan. We worked toward applying for a grant in August, but some obstacles arose and we weren't able to submit that application, and then we couldn't couldn't get started in the next couple of grant rounds. because of another potential obligation the county is going to be facing. So late last year, the Board of Commissioners and the council approved moving forward self-funding the project, hoping that it comes in less, but with a $120,000 maximum project cost to be split between our budget and the rainy day fund. We have worked on our RFP and distributed it, and the proposals are due at the end of this month, and we will review, score them, depending on how many we get and what the scores look like, invite X number of the submitters to interview, and then the committee will make a recommendation to the commissioners, and we will negotiate terms of the contract, and if the commissioners are happy with the terms offered or negotiated, they'll execute the contract and the project will begin. The comprehensive plan, once it's updated and in our hands, will be used as a framework for future changes to our UDO and BZA decisions on variances and special exceptions. Council guidelines for how they disperse solar project economic development funds in the future, reviewing and as necessary updating our strategic plan and our housing plan, finishing up our tourism plan that the TAC put on ice when this conversation began, maybe an entrepreneurial development plan that addresses some of those issues and anything else that the county sees value in. But the proposal, the RFP we've sent out is really quite broad in its scope. It's not just land use, transportation, those related things. It's land use, transportation, arts, culture, and recreation, redevelopment, economic development, health and human services, solar, other renewables, and other big projects, like providing us frameworks for the UDO and how we handle if somebody comes in with a data center request and those sorts of things. Agricultural, economic development. I want to say that there were 10 or 12 sections, like topics that we want them to address. And so I'm hoping that this is a really relevant document that the county does a better job of actually referring to and using than the one that's currently on the books. Any questions?
You said the RFP's out, have we heard back from you?
So we sent it to 12 firms directly and have it posted on the website of the Indiana chapter of the American Planning Association. And Carla and I have heard back from 5 or 6 of the 12 firms. Haven't heard any who found it via APA Indiana's website or otherwise, but of the 12 to whom we sent it, 6 have responded. A couple just saying, hey, we got this, and but I think 3, if not 4, have actually followed up with questions that we will answer on the website by the end of this week.
And what is the final deadline for people to respond?
4:00 p.m. on the 22nd.
Friday, yeah.
I think, is that,
That's the Friday.
I don't know, given that we only meet quarterly, I not knowing what their schedule will look like once we actually have a firm selected. I don't know if the timing will line up to have any consultants come to this body unless we schedule a special meeting. But I am hoping, at the risk of enduring sheer chaos, that we do like sort of a joint session with the CDC and all of your constituent commissions that the 4 of you represent, so that we're not asking the consultants to have variations of the same conversation 4 times, but especially if there's a set number of meetings that they're going to do as part of it. And so that we can have some cross-germination and cross-pollination of ideas that come up in that conversation. As I have told the redevelopment commission, I think that given some of the places where we are focusing there, we may try to have a meeting just the redevelopment commission and the consultants as well, but rather than trying to schedule like 5 or 6 meetings with them to get in front of all of these commissions, have a big session that will probably do like a highway hearing for someone else bigger, and we'll have room for everybody on all these commissions. And because we're not going to be dealing with regular business like financial reports and minutes and that sort of, it's not the end of the world if some of the bodies don't have quorums, as long as everybody's just represented there and able to be part of that conversation. And then I hope, as I've said at every meeting so far this year, that outside of our formal meetings, you all will try to make a point of engaging when they do the public engagement components of the process.
Is there a rubric, Nathan, to evaluate these firms?
Working on that. I will pass that out. So there'll be two rubrics. There is a scoring breakdown in the request for proposal, so they know what to focus on. But I'll need to work with the committee on exactly how that translates into like scoring. Is it just going to be like, okay, 10 points for this category is going to be 5 for this subcomponent, 5 for that subcomponent? That's what it is.
So would you envision using the scoring rubric that you described, if 12 firms applied, interviewing all 12, or using that scoring rubric
Using that, so.
to narrow it down to a smaller number?
Yes, and it'll be a committee decision. It's not for me to say how many we narrow down to, but I think it'll probably kind of depend on what those scores look like. If you've got like 6 or 7 that all score fairly closely together, and then 3 more who drop off, we'll probably do 6 or 7. But if it's like a clump of 3, a clump of 3, a clump of 3, we might do 3, we might do 6. I doubt it would be 9. But if the committee members want to spend that much time interviewing that many, that'll be theirs. And
The point was, the rubric should narrow people down.
yes, that is the goal. When we did the process last fall or last summer, we only had 2, and so we skipped the review process for the proposals because we weren't going to just make a decision based on proposals. But ideally, this many having been solicited directly and seeing the feedback we've gotten, I'm hoping for more. I'm hoping that all of the committee members who were involved in the fall will be involved, but I also want to expand that, and I'm going to have a core group of us who are part of the proposal review team and the interview team, and then a couple more who are just part of the interview team, and a couple more who are just part of the review team. So we kind of mixed it up, but we've got some consistency. And so I'm hoping that all 3 commissioners will be engaged in some part, a couple of council members, and then Carla and I. And then I'm going to ask Leanne Wright if she would be willing to be part of it, since the foundation has done a lot of the groundwork to help us to get to this point, that sort of thing. I want to have enough people for good representation and diversity of perspectives, but not so many that I'm spending as much time collating and averaging scores as I am actually interviewing. But I want to have a very robust process this time around, since Curbsy does a fine job, but they also do a lot of these, and so they've got a very formulaic process. And they're, as far as like scoring goes, they are bound by the rubric that the state requires as part of the grant process. We have a little more flexibility in how we do it here. And since 20, 30 minutes of conversation isn't always enough to say, that's it. We're gonna take those proposal scores and reduce them to 10%, so a 50 becomes a 5, and add that into the final score along with the interviews, so that somebody doesn't have a great interview, but like they've got the best proposal ever. We don't risk missing out on a really good consultant because somebody was sick and had to be substituted in the last minute by somebody who wasn't up to speed on the project, that sort of thing. But like I said, I'm just hoping for a very robust and thorough process so that we have the best one we can get for this project. Any other questions, comments, thoughts? All right, moving on to the only thing that I have for you under new business, the 2026 Economic Development Summit. This is the 30th anniversary of the CDC. And so just as we did in 2016 for the 20th anniversary, I am hoping that maybe we can spruce things up a little bit. Obviously, we'll still do my speech. We'll have a keynote speaker. But I am interested in hearing what all of you have to say about how we can make it a little grander this year to celebrate this milestone. Also, I assume we'll want to keep it towards the end of April, as we consistently do. It keeps us out of May and colliding with everything that starts picking up then, but it also keeps us likelier not to be affected by the weather. Just because we always have our meetings on Tuesdays, I looked at a couple of Tuesdays, we don't have to do that, but I know that if we were so interested, the 21st and the 28th are both open on my schedule, Brian. I'm guessing the 28th might not be ideal for you.
Yeah, well, yeah, unless anybody wants to take my final for me, but yeah. The 28th, well, yes, but that, yeah, but I don't have it in me.
What if we did it on a Saturday? Because it's the 30th.
I'm not opposed to that. I'm not opposed to moving to the weekend. I don't know if you guys think that's worthwhile or if that just gets more complicated.
I don't either. I don't.
So the only thing, look, we struggle at the hospital sometimes trying to do things on Saturdays where you'd almost have to do it early, because once the day gets going, people are doing stuff. So, I mean, if you wanted to do, my suggestion, if you're gonna do it on Saturday, I would do it earlier in the morning.
Do a brunch instead of
Or
dinner.
Friday night? Was it Friday night work better?
Yeah, I mean,
To be fair, I feel like that time of year, and I'm not familiar with all of the sports schedules, but
It's
Friday
crazy.
night seems a little bit easier to avoid sports conflicts than the weeknights.
Yeah.
Till fall, yeah.
Spring's
I can't think of
crazy
I
with
guess
baseball.
sometimes there are baseball and softball games, but it doesn't seem to be as likely on a Friday as during the.
Occasionally.
There's more on the weekends than there is on a Friday.
It's Saturday.
I'm more worried about Monday to Thursday.
What's that?
Monday through Thursday is issue, yeah. I was gonna say, I'm coaching again this year, so probably miss that as usual.
Baseball, softball, and track and field do not have the spectators as football and basketball do.
That is right there, that is a horrible combination of America. That's just from my passion. We can make this decision, or.
Doug, are you coaching high school?
Softball.
Oh, softball.
If anybody wants to, we could put together a planning committee for the event rather than trying to hash all of the details out tonight. I think ultimately I would still like to make sure that the date works for, if not, I'll just have to do as many as possible, and then the rest of our boards, but I don't know if anyone wants to be part of that planning committee, or if you just want to hash it out as a full commission, I will defer to you.
it's not like we haven't drawn,
Right.
and
And part of that comes down, part of it is the date and the location, but part of it is the quality of the guest speaker. Part of it is if it's an election year.
I guess some of that is going to be driven by who we try to find as a speaker, right? So if we throw out a couple dates for the speaker we want, and they say this is the date that works.
Who are you
Yes,
thinking as a speaker?
So I don't have any individuals in mind for speaker day, and I want to open up discussion here tonight for what the topic is. Redevelopment Commission are all very big on the idea of reaching out to the Redevelopment Association of Indiana and finding somebody who has either been a staff member or on a redevelopment commission on a small/rural town or county where they have done some cool projects and talked about what they've accomplished, what they started with and where they are now, how they did it, what buy-in they got from what businesses, what governments, what nonprofit and civic partners, where they came up with the money to do it, what they were able to do like on a shoestring budget versus what they had to work to build up funds to do. I feel as we are, embarking on this comprehensive planning process, outside of the planning commission, I feel like based on its statutory powers, duties, and flexibility, the redevelopment commission is going to be probably the most critical agency as far as like actually implementing any kind of cool stuff that comes out of this. And we've talked about economic development, community development for years. We have never spent a whole lot of time focused on that component. Like downtown development focused on cleaning up, flipping old buildings, and partnering with Main Street groups and towns to do sidewalk projects and facade projects and light projects and all of those sorts of things. And as I read more into the code, I learned that the EDC does have more overlapping powers with the redevelopment commission than I had first realized, but the EDC is also a 3-person board, and so that is a lot to ask of 3 people versus 7. And so that's where a lot of quote unquote the cool stuff is going to land in the future, is the redevelopment commission. So I think if we can find a really good, engaging speaker who has a cool track record, I think we could really get a lot out of the program. But this is a group decision, and if somebody else wants to hear something. The last couple of years, we had Stephanie Wells from Indiana Fiscal Policy Institute talking about sort of forecasting what the heck is going on in this state in the wake of SEA 1. 2 years ago, we had John Bride from Oakland County, Michigan, talking about Main Street, which sort of overlapped. I mean, it was a little more focused on Main Street organization's role in that process, but there would be some overlap probably with redevelopment. Over the years, we've had a couple of tourism speakers. We've had small business panel. We've had 2 different kinds of small business development panels. One, local businesses talking about things, the challenges they have faced, successes. One, different agencies and the programs that they offer for financial and consulting support. Over the last 15 years, 14 years, we've covered a lot of ground. So I am open to exploring whatever that, I've had 2 tourism advisory council meetings, an EDC meeting, an RC meeting, and an industrial park board meeting, and redevelopment is the only one that is really giving me any firm, like let's do this. Like, we like this idea. But I don't know, like I said, if there's something one of you thinks would be a better way to, or if you think that's a good idea, but have a specific way you would hope it be approached. Because I think you're right, part of the scheduling is going to be guided by the availability of whom we choose. So the faster we have a topic and I can look for good candidates and get that communication going, faster we can figure out what the schedule is.
Can we put a group email together?
Yeah.
Unless you guys all want to meet again, but I'm good with it.
A group email to what end? Throwing ideas out for the speaker for the rest of the event? Like,
I think we have to find the speaker first before we can find a date.
If you look at a date, I do believe that probably a Friday would be better. I think Friday would be best. And then you also threw out the idea, it's a 30-year anniversary, what can you do special? That they personal invites to people that maybe have served over the 30 years. And recognize them.
We didn't do the recognition, but we did do personal invites.
But recognize them. Taylor can make a nice little certificate for them.
Like memorialize the office on it.
We did spend almost 30 years there, it's true.
Good Friday is the first Friday.
What's that?
Good Friday is the first Friday of April.
Usually try not to do it that early in the month anyway, because it's not been as bad the last couple of years, but we've had late March, early April events where snow is finished. I think if we do a Friday, I would prefer to target the 17th or 24th, pending what a speaker can make work. The 10th is not terrible for me, but might not be the best. Or we could do it, then we get into May with the first.
I mean, I think those are 3 good dates. Even if you get to the first, I mean, if you really throw into a potential speaker the 17th, 24th, first, what?
Everybody good with tentatively looking at one of those Fridays and see what comes through? does get us back to the question on topic, though I can't offer those dates to somebody if I don't know what I want them to talk about.
I'll chime in from the redevelopment commission, because Nathan is right. I mean, we had a good long meeting the other night where
We probably, if I didn't have to get you to another meeting, we probably would have gone another half hour.
yeah. And I think the general consensus is there's been like a lot of talking, a lot of planning, a lot of like brainstorming, but at some point you gotta like start putting rubber to the road a little bit. And so I think hearing from someone who has done something and kind of help maybe lay out a little bit of a guidebook, I think would be beneficial. So I mean, Nathan's point, I would echo that if we could find somebody who's been able to do something that could provide us some guidance and a roadmap, I think that would be beneficial.
I agree.
And the one thing I like about the redevelopment angle, and like big picture, what a redevelopment commission can do is work the EDC, other than maybe like if we approve of a, we recommend the commission approve a loan from the RLF for a restaurant or tourism amenity that's going to have a draw from outside the community. EDC, Industrial Park Board, they're not going to contribute a lot to like quality of life and tourism. The kinds of projects, the kinds of environment that a redevelopment project can create, you know, bringing life to downtown or to a commercial strip, that sort of thing. Like it can start as, oh, just help a new business, but that can help to sort of start the chain of reaction where another restaurant is opening and there's something that's attracting people from the outside. And somebody opens a really nice, cool boutique store that brings people from neighboring counties. That's like, so the redevelopment, I think, of all these is the one that has maybe the greatest likelihood, if it is successful long term, of like creating an atmosphere where the other commissions are going to have more to work with. And so I really think that this is the time is right with the redevelopment commission having its conversations it's having parallel to the comprehensive plan coming online, to have to let the redevelopment commission members and the rest of my commission members hear that and let the community hear what can be done in a small rural community when they get all their ducks in a row and focus on reinvesting in their existing assets or could-be assets. I will reach out to RAI and see if they can connect me, whether somebody on staff or, like I said, somebody from a rural, small town or county redevelopment commission that has done cool stuff. We'll see. Other thing I wanted to float to see how you guys feel about it, and part of that will ultimately probably will depend on the venue and vice versa. How do we feel about doing it somewhere where we can do a cash bar like we did 10 years ago? We don't do it most of the time, but celebrating the milestone, trying to lighten it up a little bit more. Nobody is irresponsible. Nobody who attends these sorts of events that drank irresponsibly, that people enjoyed themselves. We did a toast. Is anybody uncomfortable with that? And you know, maybe if we can't find the right venue to host it or the right caterer, it might not happen. But like I said, 30 years, I want to amplify. I want to turn the amp to 11 if we can.
Yeah.
You all right there, Sheila?
Yeah, sorry.
All right. That is all that I have. Do any of you have anything for the good of the order this evening? Just revisit anything that went over, talk about anything I missed, talk about anything else you're concerned about, any questions about, noticed, other than semis parking in road and highway shoulders? Do we have any public comments? Okay. It is 6:53. We have no additional business. We have no public comment. Who wants to send us home?
Make a motion, we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Do you have any further discussion on the matter? Anyone opposed to going home? All right. Thank you all. Appreciate you being here and the conversation. I will send out updated financial report addressing those typos from the carryover.
See pictures on Facebook of the grandkids.